Let's get underway. We're talking about skill evolution in Pro AV, managing talent for tomorrow's technological demands. As the Pro AV industry continues to develop amidst technological advancements and changing market dynamics, talent management has emerged as a critical factor in maintaining a competitive edge. This panel discussion will provide strategic insights into effective talent management practices tailored to the current and future needs of the industry. And to discuss this further and to introduce the panel, would you please welcome from Kira Services, Trish Young. Hello, Trish.
Hey guys, how you going? Before we get started, I just would like to acknowledge the country that we're on today, on Gadigal land, and pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and also shout out to any mob in the room as well. So thanks. I am from Kira Services. I head up our academy, and I'm here to pick the brains of some experts in the room around what we can do to get more people into the industry and encourage that as a pathway into a work space that will help us all fill the needs that we have. So I'll ask our panel members to introduce themselves, tell us a bit about what they do, where they're from, and how they got here. Stacey.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stacey. If you missed the previous panel, I'm a bit of a firecracker. I ask weird questions. But I am the CEO of an AV company, the Prismatic Group. We are small because, it's tough building in Australia as a female. I won't deny it. We actually do run events in-house. We have a styling company. We expanded and went sideways, something I never thought I'd see myself do. But I also was a TAFE teacher for 10 years, developing the training and the courses as a subject matter expert. So that's my background. I think it's your turn.
How do you follow that? I'm Max Davies. I'm the country manager for a company called Vega, who are an audiovisual and technology integration firm, and we're a large entity in the Asia Pacific region and moderate size in this region. I've been in audiovisual for longer than I can care to imagine, but I didn't start there. I actually ended up training in audio at university, planned to be a rock star, didn't quite work out, and ended up in television. And then got the opportunity to be shipped over to Australia in about 2005, and then stumbled into AV. And I didn't actually know what it was. I thought I was applying for an in-house AV maintenance role. It turns out I'd walked into an AV consultancy and I was interviewing for an AV consultant's job, and I actually ended up getting that job, and that was with WSP back in the day. So completely by accident, I ended up in this industry. And since then, I've sold some boxes, and now I manage a team of experts who do audiovisual, who are, most of them are sat in the front row here. Pleased to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jay Davis. I am the AV National Technical Lead for Stantec, which is a global consultant company. I also just randomly fell into this. I did robotic and mechatronic engineering at uni. Loved the drafting side of things and just applied for every job with the word drafting. And after many, many job interviews, I got a call back from a company called Routledge, and it said it was audiovisual, and I had to Google it, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Went to the interview and got it. It was awesome. So I went in as a drafting junior engineering role, and I just got adopted by the engineering team. They taught me how to engineer, and I taught them how to CAD because I did not know how to do that. And then that was 11 years ago. I did integration for a few years, but then I landed into the wonderful world of consulting, and I've never looked back. I absolutely love it, and I will continue to do this forever. I've also had an amazing opportunity to be a mentor and a manager in this role. And being a female in this role, it's kind of given me the opportunity to provide safe space for people who wouldn't typically go into it. Just to have another different viewpoint, because I had some pretty hard-ass managers in the day, and I've learnt, but also the pros and cons of that, and providing that pathway for the next generation, because no one knows what we do. They're like,
I don't know what we do.
They're like, oh, you're AV. And I'm like, screens, speakers.
It's actually quite interesting when we talk about people don't know what we do. And I think that leads me into my next question around what's going on with the state of the AV industry? Like, where is the talent, and why, when I go and work with schools and careers advisors, they don't have a clue? Like, what's going on, guys?
You start, yes.
Look, I think we've always been an edge part of many different industries. And I think, to be fair, audiovisual touches everything. You can't say that AV is an edge part of IT. You can't say that AV is an edge part of events. You can't say that AV is an edge part of engineering. It's not. It's an edge part of absolutely everything. And that's potentially the problem. We're kind of like a community without a country in many ways, in that we don't have a landing, because even if I look at the diversity of the roles within my own business, there's some massive differences between what people do. Never mind, I mean, we as an organisation will do installation, we'll do management, we have on-site personnel, we do events, and we do all these sort of elements. And there's a massive difference between what people do. That I think is part of the problem, because I think there's so much of that. But being a very small industry, we're a fraction of the size of the IT industry, for example, and we sit within that. People just don't hear about us, unfortunately. And there's a lot of really good work done by the likes of Avixa to sort of raise that profile. But we are also, in our industry, also insanely busy all the time. And I think it's fair to say that there's never been a moment when you sat back and go, I've got a bit of free time, I'll do some stuff to help the industry. You never do. You've got to force yourself through that. And we need to be conscious of that, I think, to be able to make sure that we can go through that and find some good talents to help us on our journey. Because it does seem like there's more people leaving the industry than there are arriving, which is a real shame.
Yeah, I've definitely found with it being so busy, and because we do have the uniqueness with AV that every job's so unique, and having to design it to the space. It's not like a cookie cutter solution. So the time and needing to invest into designing and creating, at least in my role, being able to invest time into training, like it's an investment. So we need to make sure that we do have the time and the resources to do our job, but also mentor, guide, and teach the next generation of engineers and all the like. So really creating that space and encouraging companies to invest in that, because yes, you might be a bit of money in the beginning, but you're bringing this new talent in, and finding someone who's passionate about it is so important. And then not providing support for that passion is just so sad to see that flame like slowly die out, just because people aren't putting that time and effort into pushing them and training them up.
Yeah, I actually started in theatre a very long time ago. The thing is, I think this is my 26th year in industry. So I started when I was 15. So now you know how old I am. But yeah, in that time, it's been really interesting. Until coming here, I knew we do integration because I come from live events. But coming here is where I really got to meet people that integrate and do all that. But back then, we wouldn't have talked like that. Unless it was a theatre or a live event space, we weren't really talking about AV in schools even, unless it was their hall. Like, you know, some electrician came in and did their PA system, and that was about it. You know, it was a very different attitude, whereas now integration is the thing that we're really big on. Whereas, yeah, we just didn't really talk about it. And in live, we didn't know about you guys. But I mean, also as a lighting designer, I didn't talk to the audio team. So whereas now I have to be able to do it all. Like, things have moved on and changed so dramatically in our culture. In that respect, in what we expect people to do. And then technology-wise is just going leaps and bounds. And I'm finding the old boys that I used to hang out with that taught me everything I know in theory from industry, they're not only their attitudes, hence the old boys, are outdated, but also they just can't keep up with this. So they're exiting probably before retirement age. But even, yeah, I'm seeing people burn out in their 20s and 30s.
It does happen. I was going to say, interestingly, that when I did the end of my school year and I was interested in audio and following the career path, I do remember there was a a career, what do I call them, a career counsellor, actually did suggest broadcast to me, did suggest television, because that was kind of on the list at the time, and said, there's an ability for you to do, and that's the word association between audio and stuff. Okay, well, there's some of that in TV. So interestingly, the broadcast industry actually did have a little bit of setting there, and especially television, such a big thing back then. It's not so much anymore. There was an ability for me to look at broadcasting to be somewhere where I target, and I did, and that sort of got me into that path. But I was brutally unaware of anything in this industry. I really was. We were concerning ourselves with exactly the same stuff. It was video transmission systems, it was audio, it was production systems and lighting. All of that was in broadcast, but we never really touched AV. And I still can't understand why that was not there, because arguably it's probably a bigger industry now.
I actually want to throw back to the girls. Sorry there, Max.
Statistically, you're going to.
We're an industry that's struggling to find talent, full stop.
Yeah.
But how do we get more women? Sorry, lads, as you said, you can't keep up. But we want to get more women into the industry. Embrace neurodiversity. My whole job is to create jobs and pathways for First Nations people, to get them into non-traditional, job roles. How do we make this sexy?
So I decided to do something weird. I am an academic. I do come from a TAFE background and have quite a few degrees and stuff. And so I got bored when I retired because I owned my house outright and decided to go and remortgage it and expand my company dramatically as a social experiment. So I employed a lot of carers, a lot of women, a lot of neurodiverse people. Turns out you shouldn't just employ people. You do need the diversity, in fact. You kind of need, my new thing I'm working on at the moment, actually, its catchphrase is you do actually need white male privilege, because if you miss that sector, you know what I mean? Like we seem to be trying to get rid of them too much. It's like if we get rid of them completely, it doesn't work. And I think that's the beauty of diversity, is that we actually do need everybody. And so we actually do have a lot of neurodivergent people already in the industry. They might not identify as it. They might not know. But if it wasn't for me getting diagnosed with ADHD last year, severely ADHD, at the age of 40, it just explains so much. So that's the thing. We're already out there, the neurodivergent. And look, I've got a very blokey brain, in case you can't tell from the way I talk. I grew up with tradies. I hang out with tradies. I literally went down to the other expo because they're tradies. I'm just like, that's my thing. So, I'm neurodivergent and I'm here. And, we just didn't really talk about it before. But I did encounter problems. You can go too far in the other extreme. We also tried other social experiments, things like we did group interviews instead of doing this, adversarial type. We'd sit around and have pizza for lunch. And it's amazing what you learned about people because they were so calm, and you actually got to learn how they interacted with each other. So, look, I got a lot of great stuff out of my social experiment from an academic's point of view. But I also learned that you can go too far in the other direction. But I think acknowledge who's already out there and is the first point. But the other thing, as a TAFE teacher, I actually, a lot of my classes were 50% female and 80% neurodivergent and things like that. So I was seeing high statistics. So it's how do we get that flow through from the high schools, the TAFEs, and into the industry is a question I don't know how to answer, because I went too far.
That's amazing that you've had, especially at TAFE, and like in that space, that you had a good mix. I was the only female in my course, which is fine. Well, actually, it was a bit of a struggle. I went to an all-girl Catholic high school, and then going into a blokey space, I was just like, okay, hi friends, let's go. But going back to the question in how we're getting more gender diversity into the industry, and I think it does stem in education and just letting people know that we exist. Anyone who has the opportunity to attend like career days or just sharing that kind of side of things, and also just educating. I think it also goes to the career advisor as well. When I told my career advisor I wanted to be an engineer, she laughed at me. And then out of spite, I went and did work on the school, and I'd be like, hi, friend, let's do it. Let's go. I also was the only one of three people who were in my physics class. And I think that it's just kind of that mindset that women do this, men do that. And we are breaking that, which is awesome that that's being seen in the tertiary space. We need to be more aware about it and create that safe space to bringing people in so they can explore and guide, because you don't realize how unconsciously you can kind of put people in a box, challenge people, and get to know them as a person. I know that seems very high level. It's just going in and people see a big, scary boss person, and that gets intimidating. And going out and going into a position where you're already intimidated by all these men, and getting to know them that's the thing that I've been able, I've learned the best with all the people I've mentored and managed is oh, you're a person, and it creates a better relationship that way.
Just to offer an opinion, so some industries have succeeded. If you look at construction, for example, I mean, most of us work in construction environments, and you'll see that there's definitely the balance being readdressed there. I mean, I don't know exactly how they've done that, but there's clearly been some change in the positioning of construction between being a scary building site to be something that can be a career for women, especially. I mean, you do see a profusion of female project managers, for example, in the construction space, and that seems to be quite an attractive industry, which was very, very male dominated for absolutely years. And notably, I'd actually say that some of the largest, we do a lot of fit out construction, but a lot of the fit out construction companies are actually run by women these days. And even building construction with Dominic Gill, who runs Urban Core, for example, started out, I think, with I think it was built and then started her own construction company, and has been very vocal. And you should definitely connect with her if you haven't before, around the challenges of doing that in a male-dominated industry. But she has done it. And there's a lot of changes that have happened in that space. And I wonder if our industry can learn from that, as to use that as a case study to figure out that somebody's figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because I do still interact with the construction industry. My first company was actually a building company it was hard to get a job in theatre as a female back then. So, that was my hobby that I did for free. The boys could get paid, but not me. I've gone through it, but I love hanging out with those guys, because if they're sexist to me, I can call it out. I find when I come over here, we've got this weird new PC world where they'll still be sexist, but we're just not calling it out anymore. And I find that frustrating. So I think acknowledging that exists, that when we go to the stands downstairs, that I can stand there for 15 minutes and not be talked to, but a guy will walk up and get seen straight away. And a lot of this isn't malicious, by the way. It's just that we're not calling it out. And so you're not conscious of it. Your subconscious is doing it. I even get it with female clients. They will want me to work for free, but as soon as there's a budget, a female client will go to a man out of habit. It's this unconscious bias we've got to get over. If this industry is going to go forward, we've got to call it out, acknowledge our bias. There's some great sort of things online you can do to find your unconscious bias. So please go do that. And it's not just about women. It could be against men. It can be, racial. It can be neurodivergence that you have a bias against. It's, bias in general is just holding us back as a society, but it's holding us back as an industry.
Yeah. That's why I like going by an androgynous name. When people email me, they think that they're talking to a guy, and I walk into a room and they're like, "Oh, do you belong here?" And I'm like, "Yep." And they're like, "It's so good to see a woman in the industry." And I'm like, "Okay, we're good. We're good."
Love that. I think so. How do we go forward? How do we encourage more people into the industry? What's the answer? Is it TAFE courses? Is it industry quals? If you want to be a Sparky, you go to TAFE, you do your electrical certs, you move on, you're a Sparky. How do we create and streamline that?
You both looked at me. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is my area of expertise. So yes, this is the field I worked in when I'm not working in my company, but also I guess in my company. So we do have TAFE courses. We also actually have in the HSC a live production-based AV course. It does lighting and everything else as well. Although if you as a professional, do look at the questions and the answers. Sometimes you can tell it wasn't written by us, that in the actual test at the end of the HSC. But, it is that there is that sort of encouragement and that awareness out there for at least the live production side of it. But I guess we then have traineeships as well. We are not an apprenticeship-based industry. We're a traineeship-based industry, which usually goes for 12 months to 2 years. There's some trainees regularly here at ICC, for example. So, but the answer is I don't know. I've been working on this for so long. I do see a lot of people come through the courses, but where are they now? I'm not seeing them down there. I haven't had a single ex-student come up to me. So I don't know where they are.
Those courses are more based in the live entertainment, correct? So, yeah. So I think also getting to the right people to actually look at the installation and the fit out side of things and the glorious world of AV. I specialize in large stadiums and convention centers and big event halls, but not in more in a fixed setting. Showing that side of thing is possible, rather than, because I can't imagine how going in expecting to do live events and then there's not that many jobs for the amount of people who kind of want that in a way. I'm sure there is, but there's so much more to AV than just that portion. So it would be amazing to be able to have education that kind of covers more options, to see the bigger picture, because there is so much more opportunity in the industry than just this one little pocket, but people don't know about it.
Yeah. So, I was doing about live production.
Yeah.
So you have to go to university usually to head more towards the integrated path, but there are courses out there that do that. Because it's integration. Although TAFE is the IT department is slowly moving into. Yeah. So we are getting a bit of an integrator type attitude. And then in the sound production courses as well, so recording was what it was traditionally for. They are being taught more about install. But you're right, there is a gap at the TAFE end of the market. But I think it's because we do treat it like engineering, and I think that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Look, from an installer point of view, yes, we should probably be looking more at a TAFE level. But for the design, I think it's wise that we're looking at it as an engineers and therefore a university level course. But that's just my opinion. I'm not an expert in that field.
There's definitely work to be done on raising the profile of the industry, which I think is key. But statistically, we're above 10% of project spend in construction projects and various elements. So we're known to the industry, but we're still seen as being very niche, which I think is a real shame. Look, for me, I've been spending a lot of time hiring since in the past certainly 6 months, and the skills gap is really interesting, because we're actually seeing an increase in the size of the industry, certainly in the installation side, as more and more people are wanting what we sell. But yet that seems to be countered by the fact that there's just less and less people coming into it, but we're still having success by finding people who are good at other things and training them up. I think there's that level that we have a lot to offer, and structuring a business, and you'll be critically aware of this, but structuring a business so you can actually have time to train people whilst they're doing their job is tough. It's really tough, because we're dealing with low margins. We're dealing with a lot of competition. This industry is off the charts competitive, and there's a lot of challenges with trying to do that. But having some assistance, some material that we can lean on, so obviously bodies like Avixa and various other people, I think, will help us with that, so that we can bring people in, we can assist them in their journey, we can offer them a path. And being able to take somebody, train them up, and then say, look, do you want to go down a service or a sales path? Do you see yourself as being an engineer or leader? These are the type of questions we need to ask, because it is a massive diversity of roles that we can offer people. And maybe that's just being forgotten, because people often think of AV as being, I work in AV, I'm going to be installing stuff all day. Well, absolutely not. I haven't touched a screwdriver in years, and I don't intend to.
Touched a screwdriver.
Absolutely not. I'm terrible at that. I'm going to enjoyed it. But there are plenty of roles available if you want to do something different. So maybe we should be working closer with the likes of ICSA and industry bodies to map that out. I've actually spent a little bit more time recently making friends with the likes of Cornet and some of the industry bodies around corporate real estate, for example, and they're big supporters of training people up in that environment. But there isn't much of a path around technical training around that. There's lots about understanding how building finance works and how occupancy works and all these sort of things. But we could collectively be working with these industry bodies to train them around the technology associated with buildings, because fundamentally that's what we do. So maybe there's some options there as well.
Actually, that's an interesting point from yesterday. There was a panel that said about the designers and the architects can be the biggest pain, and they can be, because they don't understand what we do. So I think even from as well a collaborative point of view, not just what we're talking about today, but also what was discussed yesterday point of view, having more discussions I think would be wise, and training people.
I think and present company acceptance, obviously we're in an ICSA environment here, but we're guilty as an industry of talking to our industry only. That's what we do very well. And this is a good example of we're going to sit around and complain that everything doesn't work, and we'll all convince each other that we're right and we're not doing it correct. But the reality is you've got to break out of the actual container that you're in and go and talk to other people about what it is that you do. And we need to advocate, I think, for any kind of growth in this industry. And we are talking about growing the industry rather than actually solving a skills problem is a part of growing an industry. It's allowing us to mature as an industry, to gain kudos, to be able to gain the credit that we are actually deserved, because we are enabling people to meet better. We are enabling people to go to live events. We're enabling people to do all these things that they actually want and need to do. But we're seen as being a rounding error on a bill of materials when next to concrete, steel, and all those sort of elements. So,
If we're going to look out at other industries, do you think it's time we started to consider the options of old school style apprenticeships as opposed to traineeships? Like the 4 days on the job, 1 day. I know we do that in IT and cybersecurity in our academy, and it works really well. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that would be amazing to pair it with the education, but also that lived experience, because getting that lived experience is invaluable, and getting new people into the industry involved. Going back to the point that Max was talking about, getting in front of people and talking about it, something that I have found with a lot of people in the AV industry is we're all a bunch of nerds. We love talking about our tech, but the normies don't really understand what we're talking about. So we need to learn to adjust our language to make it sound to normalize it, and then go with an education viewpoint. That's one of my favorite things, is to go into a meeting with a bunch of different people in a project team and explain what my system's going to do, but also why it's going to work and why is it going to do what it needs to do. So whenever they're going into maybe a next project, they're like, oh, I actually understand why this is needed. Or, hey, have we thought about this? Because this is something I've done previously in another project. And that kind of creates more of a collaborative effort rather than AV demands this. So but that's also a skill in itself, being able to communicate our tech and actually making it layman's.
I used to, back in my consultancy, back in my consultancy days, I used to set a challenge to some of my juniors to say, go and talk to the clients about what the system does and never talk about books.
Yeah, it can be hard.
People fall apart when you ask them to do that, because we inherently often think about, certainly if we're a solution designer, we think about the box that's going to fix the problem. I spent a brief amount of time, after I left AV consulting, I ended up working in Telstra for a while and doing business technology consulting, and that was proper consulting, because it was, you were changing the way that people interact with the business and that sort of stuff, and it was a massive change in the way I had to think, because it was human-centric design, fundamentally. It wasn't engineering, it was human-centric design. And we never, ever talked about solutions until much, much later on in the piece. That's still a massive challenge for our industry, because we obsess about the boxes. And I think if we can change the way that we talk, we'll just be more approachable. I mean, I think maybe they're all scared of us. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I can confirm coming from other industries, sometimes you guys say things and I just blankly stare at you. I don't know what you just said, smile and nod. So, yeah, that would imagine that would be intimidating to people trying to enter the industry itself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're just moving into the broadcast space, and I was down on the floor yesterday talking to someone about cameras, and he dumbed it down for me, and I really appreciated that. I'm like, yeah. But he did it in a nice way, and that's, felt like I was getting the crayon version, but I didn't feel like I was being, like lectured to or disrespected, and that's the difference. Whereas I can go onto another stand and that's how I'll feel. So I think you're right. We need those soft skills as well to educate the rest of the world. And as for the a full-on apprenticeship, well, I would we deal so much from an install point of view, because that is my specialty. Well, we want to do massive designs, I go out to you guys, but we do an install thing because we used to be the people that did the AV, and the live people did the installs, and now we've got this whole different world with the IT and the full integration. We're talking about Microsoft all the time, and but yeah, I think the thing that always irritated me is that we work so much with electrical as well, and it'd be nice, like a plumber can get a certification so they can put a hot water system in with the electrical side of things. We can't. So it may be a full-on apprenticeship that actually allows us to do some basic electrical work, data work, all that sort of stuff, would be a good thing. But at the same time, we're having trouble getting commitment to 12-month traineeships. So I don't know how we get 4-year commitments to apprenticeships.
Honestly, it's hard enough trying to find people you're willing to pay good money to, never mind finding people that will move through the apprenticeship motion. I'd certainly fully support it. I would, we've talked about apprenticeships and interns in our business, and we'd love to have that. But I can't find anybody who's interested in doing that.
Do you think recognition as a trade would help? Like as a trade?
Yeah, wishful, right? Because then you get wrapped up in all sorts of things as well. I mean, I think the danger with being recognised as a trade is what, is it a building trade? Yes. Is it part of IT? Yes. Because before it's one of the major challenges we have, certainly in the integration space, in the corporate space where we work a lot, is that we are often, the builder will want us to work for them, because it's a trade that goes within the project that they're delivering, but we're often engaged by IT because it's actually attached to the IT. So once you identify as a trade, you may inherently get lumped in all the time into building environments, and the construction methodology and the way contracts are written is the same as it was written about 200 years ago. That really hasn't changed. We are still dealing with the same procurement methodologies in construction as we were, when they built the Harvard Bridge, to be frank. So it's not going to, that will help in a degree of getting recognition, but it also might hinder our progress in terms of doing the best work that we can do. That's my opinion.
Yeah, when I'm at the pub, I just call myself a tradie, I'll be honest. And then they go, why? And I'm like, well, I did run a building company. I started carpentry, but I was busy running the company, so I didn't finish it. But when we do integration type stuff, our company is very little compared to what you guys are doing. I won't deny that. But when we're in live production, we build scaffolds. I have a forklift license. I need that, I'm going for my truck license on Monday. We are tradies. We literally, our first stages were built out of the same scaff they were using on the building site. They still are sometimes to this day. So I consider us to be tradies in that respect, and that's who I hang around with at the pub. Because it's hard to find an AV professional to hang out with at the pub. If anyone would like to go for drinks later, let me know.
I don't think anybody's struggling to drink here.
Going for more in the consulting space as well, because I definitely recognize that bringing people in through the trade is awesome, and getting that on-site experience is amazing. But also for more in my space, a lot of consultancy firms do graduate programs, which is amazing. But I think also a really good thing is actually to do pre-grad would be, so getting people in to actually dabble and experience that, because a lot of universities do provide a year of experience. So they can actually get a taste on what they're doing. And so really encouraging companies to put themselves forward for those type of programs, and letting university know that we have these options. And getting new blood in and getting them a taste on what we're doing. I'm in a building services consultancy, so I'm actually the only person in all of Australia in my company that does AV. So as much as that program is amazing, I don't have the capability myself to really mentor too much because I am focusing a lot on work. So bringing people in, but also investing that time and energy into training them is really important, but making sure you have the infrastructure to train them, because you don't want them to sit there and be like, I'm so excited to learn, but there's no, like, I don't know where to start. I don't know where everything goes.
I think it's also important to realise that there's a whole lot of technology that is starting to appear in our lives. AI, obviously, being the call to battle at the moment, and the subject of every panel discussion that's happening in the next 3 days. But our best chance of being a player in the AI environment is to actually have the young talent that's going to allow us to do that, because at the grassroots level, it's a complex environment. It's not always easy for the aging people like myself to understand and to adopt. So we are absolutely reliant on the young talent coming into the industry, mostly to fuel the gap that we have on the top end of the industry, because we all get long in the tooth and we fit crap at changing. So I think we need that young talent to come in, and we've got to encourage that. But there's an interesting prospect now in that because AI will feature so heavily and IT will feature so heavily, that you actually can start grabbing talent from different pools now and start bringing them in. There's a gentleman called Paul Uchuchi who runs an organisation called Innomate, and he does some very clever monitoring environments for education and corporate, and he will very proudly say that not a single person that works in his environment is an AV person, and he deliberately doesn't find those people. He finds them from diverse parts of the world and the industry or other industries to bring them in, because he says the AV bit's easy, but the coding element that he does inherently in his business is hard, and that's a specific thing he needs to bring in. So he's been very good at doing that. We need to learn from those people, I think.
So I'm going to ask the audience now, is anybody in their workspace doing anything to help support bringing in more talent? Any mentoring programs, things like that? Yeah, stand up. Hi, Simon.
I'm Simon. That is a bit better. I work for Corporate Technology Services, and I'm in charge of a lot of technicians that provide audiovisual support. The story of my life is resourcing. And as you've just all mentioned, it's very hard to find people. So a few years ago, I've actually started approaching SAE. And I just went to them and I said, can I start talking to anyone on all of your courses that have anything to do with audiovisual, and tell them about the industry and get people like that? And that has actually worked really well. So I get a lot of pre-grad people. Whilst I start the journey with them as I hold talks to all of their campuses around Australia and start that mentoring journey, I then hand that mentoring journey over to my on-site staff that starts to training them. We offer them a paid training to get them into the industry. And then that journey continues. And over time, we there create full-time technicians purely by telling them about the industry, by hand-holding them, and we provide them that experience back to SAE. So if they can say, hey, they've done 24 hours, of actual AV work in the industry, that's then recognized to their degree. I've never seen anyone else doing it but me, so I think there's something that can be done, and that literally that can be done by anyone.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's good.
Also true circular as well, because you're giving back into the organisation that you're getting from. Yeah.
Yeah, while the microphone's moving, we actually used to take the TAFE students out to lots of community gigs and stuff, mine were live production based. But yeah, so, and like I said, there's traineeships here at ICC. ICC will sometimes host work experience. That's cool.
Hello, I'm over here. Hi. I'm Liam. I'm a AV manager at a K-12 institution here in Sydney. So maybe I can provide a bit of a different perspective from a young talent kind of look. So I manage a student team of AV guys. We call it our tech crew. What I find really difficult is after we've captured the students and captured their interest for the AV industry, they leave high school and that's it. I've got some kids who are extremely talented at live audio, video, graphic design, and then they get out of high school and they go, I'm going to go into commerce because that's where there's money, because there's an obvious pathway there. There's no obvious pathway for audiovisual. I mean, I'm sure I don't speak just for myself and for most people in this room that we all kind of fell into this. Like, I have a network engineering background. I wasn't an AV person, but now I find myself managing AV for a school of 2,200 students, which is awesome. I love it. And I wish when I was younger that I knew that this was a way that I could go, because as you said, Jay, AV is fun. We get to play with a lot of cool toys, and there's no real way for us to capture that interest in kids and assure them that there is actually a career here. It's not just, long ponytails wearing all black roadieing for bands. That's not what AV is. It's a huge part of it for sure.
There's a lot of them around.
It's a great part of it, but there's so much more in this industry to that. And, we host STEM careers expos at our school, and we have all these other, great experiences for kids to learn where they can go post high school and post uni, post TAFE, whatever it may be. But none of it is focused on AV. It's engineering going into, I guess I design AV systems now. There's no real pathway. And like, yes, there's great TAFE courses and stuff, but if we can capture the interest, figure out how to capture the interest of kids like 16, 17-year-olds and go, there is a real career here that you can get into, then that's where I think we need to start, not at the TAFE level. It's got to start a lot earlier than that.
Yeah, I think I think it would be great to actually reach out to some local AV companies and maybe do some work experience, like getting them on site as well for like a day or kind of show them the ropes for a bit. So I'm not sure if your school also does like an actual work experience program that can kind of push them into that and then actually talk to people who are in the industry and how they got in and their experiences and their recommendations to get up there.
Yeah, and I'm not speaking for everybody in the K-12 sphere, because it's so many diverse ways that schools handle this. And I might have struggles with my tech team that other people don't, because they might have a theater that we don't have and stuff like that. And so everybody's a little bit different. But in talking with other people that are in my role at not in tertiary education in K-12, it's a lot of the same struggles. It's like, we've got some kids who are awesome at what they do and they love it, and then they get out of high school and they're just like, I'll do something else. It's like, if we can get people at 18 in the AV industry and then they're just in here for unfortunately for a very long time, then that'll be amazing, because you just get so much more experience. But yeah.
But I think it's actually I spend a lot of time at schools and do a lot of talks to kids for IT, AV, getting them in the industry. And you're right, there's no direct pathway, and careers advisors don't really have a clue about it. But I think this whole week is a bit of a missed opportunity in that I haven't seen a single school kid here. I haven't seen a single school wander through to kind of look, sorry, I take it back. We have one with us, our trainee, and I think the experience to come in and go, all right, this is an actual industry in its own right. How cool. I mean, the LED screens, who's not keen on that? And so I think if schools were invited to come, and I know nobody's going to make money on selling an 18-year-old some kit, but they're the future. We're going to be dinosaurs pretty soon, and there's no one to take our place. Well, not many.
I actually, when I was a TAFE teacher, I actually started the TAFE students coming to here. It was amazing. And then I ended up in hospital and I missed the first time we came. They were invited to the breakfast and everything, which was really cool. I got some lovely photos in hospital. But I think I saw on the program, and I can't see Joey, so I don't know. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think tomorrow is school day. Like, I think there is a school program.
There's a lot of school kids around on a Friday, so I'm not sure if that's a deliberate thing, but generally is the day. Yeah, it tends to be, but I'm not sure if it's a formal thing. But
yeah, I swear I saw it in the program. I could be delusional and optimistic, but I'm pretty sure there is now school day. It's Tech Crew Day or something they call it. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I was at Ultimo TAFE this week, and none of them knew, and I'm just handing out flyers for the day. But what I want to do is actually, we're all sort of stuck. Everyone's got their own ideas around what needs to happen and how we do it and how we get more people interested. But can anybody agree on or shout out something that they're going to do in the next 12 months as a company, as an individual? Like, what are you guys going to do in the next 12 months to bring more talent into the industry?
Look, I can speak from our perspective. I think we'd be very interested in exploring, looking at those organisations that are bringing talent through, and certainly, we're engaging with a few more schools with work, for example, and it'd be great to engage with the technology leads in those schools to actually educate them and bring them in to have a conversation about that. So that's, it's a fairly simple move, but it just opens that door. So I think that's something that we could easily do in our organisation. Yeah.
I'm getting a flag from the front here. I think we want to throw to the audience. There's someone. Yep.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chester. We're from Tasmania. We're from Mona. We also work in the in-house technology team, and I think Mona has some quite interesting, I guess, community engagement, and then just let people know about what's going on in the art world. For example, we hire like a certain amount every year for First Nation people and neurodivergent to do the placements inside of the museum. And after it's kind of like COVID is kind of also a blessing. We started to do like this mentorship. There's a lot of different talents at Mona. You could learn about bartending, you could learn about how to cook things, you could learn about AV stuff. And just, I think 2 years ago, we acquired like a EQ system from the Beatles or whatever, and then we have a new studio. And now for Tasmania, you could use that professional studio at a very low price. You could work with the audio engineers in-house to learn that also. And also during Mofos, and for our boss lady, Kershaw, she have a 24 carats project. We just go around Tasmania, work with school kids. We would kind of just help them and kind of show them how to kind of grow these local vegetables, how to cook them. And during kind of like this annual or like seasonal celebration, their local bands would play, and we could let them come up and DJ and all that. So it's kind of some sort of engagement. Lastly, I want to say is that because I was just thinking like, how do we actually engage with the younger generation? I think the easiest way is to let them feel like AV is really cool. And the coolest example I could think of is a guy. He's used to be like a NASA engineer, and now he's a YouTuber. He's called Mark River. He's just used a lot of Raspberry Pi and does a lot of cool stuff. One of the famous things he did is like a trap, like he's trying to trap like a squirrel in his backyard. And I think something like that could be really cool for kids, but I don't really know how. But I think if kids think it's cool, they'll keep coming in. Thank you.
You're right, though. We grow up wanting to be rock stars and astronauts. We don't grow up wanting to be the sound guy or girl. But, well, I did, but that's a separate issue. I'm weird. But, I think that's an interesting point is maybe we target the younger people, maybe we, but the other thing we're just going to have to accept, I mean, when I'm talking to the tradies at the pub, they've got the same problem. Finding reliable people who'll do their job is hard in general in every industry at the moment. So I think we've got a problem across society that we can't fix alone in our industry. So it's something we just have to adapt to and deal with as opposed to we can fix it. Yeah.
Hey, we've heard a lot today about attracting talent, and I was curious what the panel's thoughts are on keeping talent in place. And obviously there's a lot to be said around reliability in the people that we're building into the industry, but what are we doing to build loyalty in the industry?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's, as I mentioned before, it's about investing that time and that energy into it. So when I have someone who I've been mentoring in, it's bringing them along, not just giving them the small stuff, getting them to actually see and feel the whole experience. The thing that I absolutely love about my job is being able to get a spark of an idea and actually see it come to life and to share that with people. So making sure that when you're bringing talent in and you're finding someone who is passionate about it, to actually put that energy into providing them that full experience, not just, please just mark up these drawings for me, or update this Word doc for me, which is all good and well. But yeah, getting them to see the whole experience, get the client facing, get them to actually be part of it, to feel like they're part of the bigger picture. And that's something that I loved when I was learning, and that's something that I always encourage and work with my mentees.
Oh, I'll give it a go then. My social experiment that I did in my company actually gave me some pretty good data on loyalty and stuff. So we tried the company's yours when I'm not here anymore method. That doesn't work. It turns out they don't want to think that far ahead anymore. That would have been a goldmine for me. I would have been like, sweet, do you care that much? And it's my company in the long term. But that sort of long-term attitude doesn't work anymore. They want the here and now. We did as the company grows, our wages will grow. Again, if you're doing reviews every 12 months, they're not seeing it for 12 months. That's even too long. So I think loyalty is growing on the experiences in the daily basis. I mean, I think you have to focus on, making sure the job is collaborative, inclusive. The things that people did love was when we were going into the events space and running our own events. What events do you want to do across the whole team? And they loved that, and you could see their eyes light up. It's like, even if they're the AV person, just the idea that they were like, can we not do any more weddings for a minute? Like, whatever it was. Like, that sort of, that in the moment, you've got to say, or the fact that when we were interviewing new people, everyone was included, was actually, they felt like they had a say again. So I think loyalty is built on the fact that they're included, they are heard, and they are experiencing something that actually interests them. And if they're not, they do walk. It's just the way of the modern world.
Great discussion. I think buy-in and autonomy is also a key to, we're a mob company, Supply Nation certified, and bringing new people into the business who have buy-in to what we do from a bigger picture for community, and where we send our profits to support community, it really captures the right people for us with what we do. I think that's pretty important. Any more questions? It's hard to see this side of the room. Go on. Hey.
How's it going? I work in AV support, so I work for a university. Stuff breaks, I fix it. And we do have high school students who come through on the work experience, and they'll spend a bit of time with the first level team and a tiny bit of time with me in the second level. But I guess my question is, how do you, if anyone has any insights, like the support side is rewarding, but it's not necessarily sexy. Does anyone have any thoughts on how do you, because I think it's already come up here that AV is not just live events and flashy adrenaline, like it can be the day-to-day of stuff breaks, you fix it.
It's kind of like the kitchen hand and the kitchen
It's
necessary.
It's a critical service, and I think I've got some of my team here that deal with and support on a daily basis, and it's a hard job. I absolutely acknowledge that. It's a really tough job to do because there's generally nothing positive about a support job because you're dealing with problems. I think what we found is that people do genuinely gain some pleasure out of fixing problems, and it's a certain type of inquisitive mind that will engage in that environment. But also seeing support as a skill set that you're gaining, so you can grow into other roles and you can move into other things. We talk about the level of apprenticeship and training and skill sets and that sort of stuff, but most of us who have the opportunity to sit on a stage like this and talk about our experiences have actually kind of done the hard yards at some point in time in our careers, and we've learned everything because we've gone through. I've certainly, I've sat in the back of OB trucks over the years and got rained on and all that sort of stuff, because that was part of my my training and apprenticeship, and I pulled cables, and then, you know, it's been pretty brutal at times. I even got shot at. I did some Warzone stuff back in my broadcast days. That absolutely does give you a bed of skill set. So I think taking and genuinely seeing what you do as an opportunity, I think, is a bit of a mindset thing. We do work in an environment, unfortunately, these days, where people do exist in an environment where there is a sense of entitlement, and I think that's hard. But I was also an entitled young bloke as well. I was never satisfied. I wanted to progress, and that's why I was enthusiastic about building my career into something else. So that's not bad, but taking the time to actually learn a few skills as you go and then progress through. The good thing about this industry is there is a skills gap, which means that you can move into something else. You know, we're trying to hire people in the moment to give them opportunities to move into other things, and I think that's a very, very good thing. So take it for what it is, learn and move on if you can.
Also, very much in that role, there's so much technology to support that with like monitoring and automative stuff. So making sure that the role's not stagnant and making sure that you're constantly growing and thriving with the new technology to help your job be easier and more interesting is always a great way to work with that as well.
Yeah. I think we're about to run out of time, so we probably have to wrap it up. But I think there's a lot to take away and think about here, and I'd love if anyone would come past and chat to us about the pathway program we're trying to set up. I think throwing back to the industry, you have to be part of the solution. We often have a lot of trainees, like we have so many kids come through to do work experience, but then when it comes to getting them a job, to learn on the job and train, because, you know, everyone needs to be paid to survive, I guess, there's just often crickets. So you got to come to the party and tell us what you need from your staff, what you want them to be trained in, and how you're going to engage with them, I think. Sweet. Thank you, guys. It's been good. This is quite shorter than the last chat we had.
And thank you very much, Trish, for facilitating that. Please thank our panelists, folks.